More concerned with the Stephen Castle being out, Dylan Harper's being out, to build up some character and build some depth for this group.
This is not the same San Antonio Spurs. Everyone assumed the Spurs would fold. No Victor Wembanyama, no Stephen Castle. For a stretch, no Dylan Harper either. That's supposed to be the breaking point. Young team, new system, injuries to the future of the franchise. This is where most rebuilds collapse. Instead, San Antonio pushed forward. They started beating playoff teams. They started defending with purpose. They started playing like a group that refuses to be a footnote. And suddenly, one thing became clear. This is not the same San Antonio Spurs. The expectations were low. Until they weren't coming into the season, optimism around San Antonio was cautious for a reason. Yes, the talent was exciting. Yes, the mix of veterans and young pieces finally made sense. But it all revolved around one name, Victor Wembanyama, a 7'5" anomaly, a one-man defensive system, a player who blocks shots on one end and handles the ball like a guard on the other. If everything broke right, he didn't just project as an all-star, he projected as the best player in basketball. But that optimism came with fear, because Wembanyama's sophomore season was cut short, just 46 games, after being diagnosed with deep vein thrombosis. That's not just an injury scare, that's a life scare. So when he came back, stronger and sharper, the Spurs moved carefully, and for a brief moment, they didn't just look good, they looked historic, a start that changed the tone of the season. For the first time in franchise history, San Antonio opened a season 5-0, not in the Duncan era, not in the Parker Ginobili years. Now, Wembanyama averaged 30 points, 14 rebounds, and nearly 5 blocks per game during that stretch. And here's the crazy part, they did it without De'Aaron Fox, the team's highest paid player and most important veteran acquisition. That was the first signal. This team wasn't fragile anymore. Then everything went wrong. On November 14th, Wembanyama went down with a left calf strain. Given what we've seen around the league, no one wants to rush a calf injury, especially when Achilles risks are involved. The Spurs shut him down. Then one game later, Stephen Castle went out too. Now the narrative flipped instantly. No stars, no shot. That's how rebuilds usually go. But instead of collapsing, San Antonio adapted. You can't replace Wembanyama, so they didn't try. Let's be clear, there is no replacement for a 7'5" cheat code who's already on every awards ballot by week 2. Wembanyama was on pace to join Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and David Robinson as the only players ever to average 25 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 blocks in a season, and he was doing it more efficiently than both. You don't plug that hole, so the Spurs didn't. They changed the equation. The possession game saved the season. Without their stars, San Antonio Spurs didn't panic. They simplified, they leaned into something brutally effective. Possessions, more shots, fewer turnovers, extra chances carved out through effort and discipline. It doesn't look glamorous, it doesn't trend on highlight reels, but it wins games. Against the Portland Trail Blazers, the Spurs shot poorly. Nothing flowed, nothing sparkled, and yet they took 14 more shots. That single margin flipped the game, because when your 25-point franchise player is sidelined, possessions stop being a stat, they become survival. This wasn't desperation basketball, it was controlled, deliberate, grown-up basketball, and it kept the season alive. De'Aaron Fox took control. This stretch belongs to De'Aaron Fox. With San Antonio Spurs missing their 2 young stars, Fox became the stabilizer, not the scorer, not the savior, the organizer, and the impact was immediate. Turnovers fell, pace slowed, decisions sharpened. In 5 of the 7 games without Wembanyama and Castle, San Antonio committed 10 or fewer turnovers. That isn't coincidence, that's control. Those 2 absent stars ranked first and second on the roster in turnovers. Without them, the offense stopped forcing the moment. It breathed. Fox's presence turned chaos into structure, a steady hand guiding a young team through turbulence without ever raising his voice. This wasn't flashy leadership, it was the kind that quietly wins games, winning the ugly way. Another reason this stretch worked, offensive rebounding. Jeremy Sochin flying in from the corners, Keldon Johnson attacking the glass like it's personal, big bodies sealing space, second chances carved out through effort. Empty possessions didn't stay empty, they turned into points. And on the other end, San Antonio Spurs leaned fully into who they've always been. They didn't chase blocks, they didn't hunt steals, they controlled shot quality. San Antonio forces opponents into more mid-range attempts than any team in the league. Those shots look clean, they feel comfortable. but they're inefficient, low reward, low foul rate. Every time an opponent settles for one, the Spurs count it as a defensive win. That philosophy never disappeared. It just waited for the moment it mattered again. The Denver game changed everything, winning the ugly way. Another reason this stretch worked: offensive rebounding. Jeremy Sochan flying in from the corners. Keldon Johnson attacking the glass like it's personal. Big bodies sealing space. Second chances carved out through effort. Empty possessions didn't stay empty, they turned into points. And on the other end, San Antonio Spurs leaned fully into who they've always been. They didn't chase blocks, they didn't hunt steals, they controlled shot quality. San Antonio forces opponents into more mid-range attempts than any team in the league. Those shots look clean, they feel comfortable, but they're inefficient, low reward, low foul rate. Every time an opponent settles for one, the Spurs count it as a defensive win. That philosophy never disappeared, it just waited for the moment it mattered again. Veterans answered the call. This was the moment the veterans stepped forward. Devin Vassell erupted for 35 points, 7 threes, late daggers, no hesitation. For a player questioned early in the season, this didn't feel like a hot night. It felt like a line being crossed. Keldon Johnson brought the heartbeat, energy, physicality, relentless effort that never fades from the box score, but always shows up on the floor. Julian Champagny kept rising quietly. Dependable defense, confident shooting, a player turning minutes into trust. And then there was Harrison Barnes. Perfect veteran basketball, 42% from deep, no ego, pure spacing. And when the moment demanded it, he reminded everyone what experience looks like. A 31-point eruption against Memphis, calm and controlled. This roster didn't panic, it didn't splinter, it connected. What happens when everyone comes back? Now comes the scary part, because this version of the Spurs found something. When Castle returns, he won't have to carry the same on-ball burden. Fewer turnovers, more efficiency. When Wembanyama comes back, he won't need to initiate everything from the perimeter. Cleaner decisions, more devastating impact. Defensively, Fox at the point of attack, Castle locking wings, Vassell thriving, and Wembanyama behind them. That's chaos for opponents. More steals, more possessions, more pressure. This isn't a hot stretch even through injuries. San Antonio ranked top 7 in offensive rating after Thanksgiving. That's not luck, that's structure. This team plays real offense. They respond to runs, they close games. Most importantly, they compete. That was the biggest fear during the tanking years: bad habits. Instead, the Spurs built winning ones. So here's the real question: when fully healthy, is this just a nice story, or are the Spurs closer to contention than anyone expected? One thing is undeniable: this is not the same San Antonio Spurs. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit the like button. It really helps the channel. If you want more deep NBA analysis like this, subscribe and turn on notifications. Drop a comment below: are the Spurs legit contenders when healthy, or is this just the beginning? And check out one of the videos on your screen right now.